Welcome once again to the Party of One podcast, the actual play RPG podcast where the gaming table is always set for two. I am your haunted host, as always, Jeff Stormer. And on this frightfully festive holiday, I am giving to you, the party people, a treat for your ears, no tricks involved, for this is part one of a two-part holiday spectacular that we are calling the World Champ Late Night Double Feature Podcast Spectacular. That's right, we have a pair of spectacularly spooky horror-themed episodes, both designed by one of my favorite game designer in the world, Adam Vass, World Champ Game Co., and this is part one of that double feature in which I sit down with Eric Prister from Nature of My Game for a screamtacular session of Press Play. Press Play is a role-playing game of found footage horror. In it, we collect and review unexplainable events caught on tape while also seeing how our proximity to those tapes brings us closer to a shared fate. We explore haunted footage, which itself haunts us. I loved this game. I love found footage horror. I love stories about people examining stories and sort of becoming changed by that process. If you didn't know that, that's the most Jeff bullshit answer imaginable. This game is so up my alley. We had such a blast with it. I really think you're going to love it. You can find more information about Press Play at worldchamp.io or check the show notes for more information. Eric is, of course, the producer and GM for Nature of My Game, a story-focused actual play of investigation, strangeness, and fear that specializes in horror-themed role-playing games. I could not think of a better person to sit down with and really get into a spooky, terrifying Halloween experience, and I think the episode turned out really cool and wonderful. You can learn more about Nature of My Game at nomgpodcast.com or check the show notes for more information. Now, the last thing I'll say before we dive in is if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to check out the next episode in the feed, which is Ever Dreamed This Man with Adam Vass. We sat down, we created a cool dreamscape horror story. It's really sick. I think you're going to love it. You can find that on the feed at this exact very moment. But first, Present Jeff here with a quick update about what you can find at patreon.com/JeffStormer. Ignore what I may or may not say later in the episode if it's a different URL. In case you missed it, we launched a brand new Party of One side series on Patreon. I've wanted to do more sequel episodes and returning guests for a really long time, and I realized I could just do that on Patreon. And thus, Party of One Plus One deeper dives into the games, guests, and stories that we feature on the main feed. There are 3 episodes available right now on Patreon. That is Conflict of Interest with Senda, which is a gay, lesbian, forbidden romance spy drama. I can't sell that to you better than that. A special extra playthrough of Pale Dot with the game's designer Devin Nelson, and Jadzia Axelrod, my dear friend and creator of Galaxy the Prettiest Star, joins me for a special Galaxy fanfiction one-shot. All 3 episodes are really, really wonderful. We're releasing these episodes somewhere between bi-weekly and monthly, and that's on top of early access to Party of One episodes and games as they come out, the eventual return of Party of None, which is our solo actual-ish play podcast, and a whole lot more. You can find all of that at patreon.com/JeffStormer. Also, an ad. This episode is brought to you by Empress of Dust, a new science fantasy novel by Alex Kingsley. The novel is about a future where giant crabs have taken over the Earth and only one human city remains, and it follows a trans boy who gets lost in the desert wasteland and must befriend the crabs in order to return home. You can probably hear the excitement in my voice right there because that's a fucking pitch. But also it keeps getting cooler because there is also an accompanying tabletop RPG, Creatures of Ruin, in which you play as a human or a crab monster who also has magic powers, because of course they do. Both the game and novel have original monster illustrations that look sick as fuck and are being published by Space Wizard Science Fantasy, a small press that specializes in queer science fiction and fantasy. The novel is available right now at Amazon or your bookstore of choice. The game will be available soon. You can find more information about both at spacewizardsciencefantasy.com or alexkingsley.org, and you can check out more of Alex's games at alexyquest.itch.io. And truly, one more time, that's a fucking pitch. Now, with all that said, let's go ahead and throw it over to me in the past so that he can get started with the show. Take it past me. Thanks, future me. I am so excited for today's recording. I'm sitting down with Eric Priester. Eric, thanks so much for coming on Party of One.
Hey, Jeff, how are you? Glad to be here.
I am super stoked for today's recording. I've read through the game that we're playing. It is got me chomping at the bit to play this game. But before we get into that, why don't you take a moment to let our lovely listeners know about anything you've got going on that you might want them to know about?
Absolutely. So my name is Eric Priester. I am the creator, GM, and pretty much all the other things of an actual play podcast called The Nature of My Game. We run a lot of kind of story-focused horror games. We currently have 2 campaigns running right now. We're playing a yet to be released epic campaign for the Yellow King RPG called Casilda's Song, which was written by the creator of the Yellow King RPG, Robin D. Laws, and he and the publishing company have generously let us start playing the game with the playtest version and releasing episodes before that campaign comes out. And we are also running a Delta Green campaign called Sandcastle Virtues, which really focuses on one agent as he joins Delta Green and then tries to bring it down from the inside. So would love for people to check us out. Check out the Nature of My Game podcast.
I am super stoked because we are also playing a weird horror game today that I'm really excited about. We are playing Press Play, which is by World Champ Game Co. It is part of the Trick or Treat suite of horror-themed RPGs that came out last October 23, and this game is specifically about simultaneously two people exploring and capturing footage about a weird paranormal event, and also the people watching that footage later to try and understand what happened, which is like such a cool approach to found footage horror that I'm absolutely giddy to get into this. And before we dive in, I wanted to ask you, like, what has got you excited about this game? What was the thing that made you say this is the game that you wanted to play? Like, what are you bringing to the table? You know, what's on your mind as we sit down to play this game?
Yeah, I mean, I think like you, I love the idea of playing two characters simultaneously. Like I find myself in other games where that's not a mechanic, asking people to do that, like, maybe having somebody from the past that provides some information to the characters in the future or something like that. So I love that concept. I also, they talk about in the intro to the game, some of the inspirations like Archive 81, the Blair Witch Project, The Ring, and I love all of those. I think it's such an interesting genre to kind of look back on something creepy that's happening to someone and trying to figure out and be affected by those things as you're watching it happen. So I'm really excited about that, and just any opportunity to tell a horror story, I'm very much in for.
I completely agree. I cannot there's just something, for me it's the duality, right? It's watching somebody experience a horror, and then also the sort of helpless horror of watching someone else experience it, knowing that it might also happen to you and knowing that there's really nothing you can do to stop the person. Like, it creates this sort of multi-layered experience of simultaneously watching a horror movie and then watching yourself watching a horror movie. It's a very kind of like cool meta experience that's my fucking jam.
I love it.
So let's go ahead and dive in and start building out our characters. We are going to make two characters, one of whom is going to be our recorder. That is our person who is capturing footage, filming or recording or writing some type of horror experience. And then our reviewer is a separate character studying that footage and learning about the former as the story unfolds. There are a few options in here. We can also randomly roll some things. Of the options of the recorder, the first thing that we kind of have to decide is what our group of recorders was, and does one of these options jump out at you, or do you want to roll a dice and see what happens?
I feel like I have more of an opinion about the reviewer than the recorder, so I'm down to roll.
All right, let's roll a dice. I'm going to roll my d6 here. That is a 2. Hosts and crew of a paranormal investigation show. Fantastic. Great. Our target is in some way spiritual. So we are looking for some kind of spiritual horror thing. And now we're going to kind of flesh out who we want those recorders to be. We can also roll on a table or choose an option or kind of pick and choose things. What role in this production do you want to be?
I'm going to go ahead and roll a die for this one too.
All right, here we go.
I got a 5, which is dead serious.
Oh, I got a 6, which is a thorough skeptic, which is very good. So there's an immediate hook of a paranormal investigation show with a skeptic of trying to disprove these things, which is the most murderable thing that you can do in a horror story, is try to prove that there is not horror.
Absolutely.
You're dead. That character, it's over.
Definitely dies first, for sure.
For sure. That's bad vibes immediately. And I think I want, what I want. Immediately a hook kind of like sticks out to me about like a skeptic character on this show. I kind of want to lean into, I want to lean into the Houdini angle is what I think I want.
Okay.
Which is, or rather, like my understanding of the Houdini angle, which may be that I have completely misunderstood or taken a pure pop culture image of like why Houdini was so big on like debunking things. I like the picture of the person who wants this to be real so badly, and therefore is continuously showing up in places and being like, this has to be real. Like, I want this to be a real thing. And continually is like, once again, we found it was a fake. We found it was a fluke, but like the real thing has to be out there somewhere. There's something about that kind of like desperate sort of desire for a truth that feels incredibly compelling, as opposed to it feels to me more earnest than a sort of like, I am kind of scoffing at this until I get murdered.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I wonder about the idea of, you know, if he has kind of a co-host, or if they have kind of a co-host who is this dead serious person, are they maybe like the informative one, right? Like the one
Sure.
the one who, you know, maybe believes to the same level as the skeptic, but has done a lot of the research behind trying to figure out what's going on in a particular place.
I love that a lot. And I want to throw this a note further. If your character has done the research into the history of places and like the lore of the supernatural, like there's an angle that has jumped out to me that there's a hook that has jumped out to me that I want to grab immediately.
Hit me.
Which is, I want to play, what if Stan Winston was hosting a ghost show? Like a world famous props and effects guy, as the like, you are a lore expert who is coming in and being like, this is what they're saying, this is what we are seeing, and then like a person whose specialty is, I know Hollywood horror.
Mm-hmm.
I know where to spot the strings. Like, I want this to be real, but I know where if you show me a mask, I'm gonna tell you the material used to make that mask and like probably the person that made it.
I love it. I think that makes sense. I can see those two people playing off each other really nicely and like making a show that people like to watch. So it makes sense to me.
That feels great. I really enjoy that. Okay, and so now we're gonna make our we'll give our characters some names and pronouns as we go, and then kind of like flesh them out. We can think about that. Now we're gonna start to build our reviewers as well. You said you had some thoughts about who these reviewers were. Yeah,
so my idea for at least the reviewer that I was gonna play was something about this really draws me to being a relative of my recorder. Whether it's, I don't know, I'm feeling like father, but it doesn't necessarily have to be if it fits in nicely some other way.
Sure.
But I just like the idea of someone driven to find out what happened for a really, really personal reason.
I love that. I really like that. That's fantastic. That feels strong. I'm gonna roll because I'm gonna I think let's go with that, because I'm gonna roll to kind of see like where I relate to if my character is somebody that your character has hired, or if I'm another family member. Spiritual advisor. Wow. Fascinating.
Amazing. I feel like footage keeper maybe fits the best for me, either footage keeper or muscle, but I think footage keeper because I think I found the tapes or the footage or whatever of maybe some of the lost footage that my son had recorded from doing the show.
Sure. Then I've got my hook. I've got my character hook, spiritual advisor. I am establishing that my recorder, your character was a lore expert. Your character studied history and things. You said this was somebody that like did that research. I am a professor of like a, what do we want to say? Professor of history, philosophy, parapsychology. Like, what's the vibe that we feel like is like a professor that your character would have studied under to become this expert?
Maybe anthropology, because it could be focused more on maybe slightly more ancient, like ancient folklore that has kind of seeped into the places they go.
Anthropology with a folklore focus is good. I'm a professor of anthropology who, like, your character, like, studied under. I was a real mentor figure. And so when your recorder has come to figure out what happened to their son, like, I was the person that most closely worked with them and had the closest relationship outside of this show host. So, like, I am kind of the person that has come in to, like, join you in the investigation of what happened to their son.
I love that.
That feels like a really strong angle. Branson Crane is my character's name. He, his pronouns. Branson Crane is a Hollywood, like a Hollywood icon of a bygone age, is what I am going to say. My character was, in an one of the last real practical effects men in an era of CGI. Like, the industry left him behind a little bit, and this kind of ghost show was like a late career fascination and kind of a way to it was a way to both, like, chase a genuine sense of belief, but also it was born out of a way to kind of, like, celebrate the people that were putting these hoaxes together a little bit.
Yeah. I like that. And he teamed up with, I think I'm going to go with Lucas Phillips for my recorder. This is the dead serious guy who studied under the anthropologist. And I think your character must have found him, and something about his personality as a play off of Branson's personality felt like it really fit well for the type of show they were trying to do.
Yeah, that feels good. I really like that. I like that energy a lot. Cause, like, and the idea of, like, coming in, bringing somebody in who is very serious and very, like, lore focused and being like, and I'm also going to kind of, like, show the ways in which they have propagated these hoaxes and do it in a way that is like appreciative of all of that, is a way to show, like, this is what goes into a hoax. This is what goes into an urban legend. This is what goes into a tourist trap haunted house, and, like, kind of almost an honor among thieves situation of, like, spotting these things and, like, kind of having a laugh about it. Like, I think that there is maybe a little bit of, like, a lot of the like roadside attractions that have agreed to have their stuff on the show. It's a mix of, like, no, our stuff is real, and then when it gets onto the show, it's a little bit of like a, yeah, we got you, but it was a pretty great fucking
right. Exactly.
It was a pretty great angle.
Yeah, like we like what you're doing here, even if it's not real. Like, we appreciate the story side of it too.
Yeah. Okay, great. I'm excited for this character to kick the bucket. And then my reviewer is Professor Dasha Mironova. Dasha, she, her, is a professor of anthropology at, like, a mid-level college who has studied folklore her entire career, like, studying folklore and urban legends in a very kind of, like, this is an oral tradition that defines a community. There is a practice to the heart of this, and that is what Dasha has made her career around.
I love that. And I think my reviewer is Mark Phillips. And I think he's a chef. And I think he never felt particularly bright. He kind of got into the restaurant business because it was something that he thought he was good at. And I think he always thought of his son as this super brilliant person that he could never quite live up to. Because he went to college, he was kind of an academic. And so I think he's now putting himself in this place where he's not only started working with another academic, but he's trying to figure something out that he feels like he is in a little bit over his head.
Love that. Really love that. And so the last thing that we're going to decide before we kick off play is the game recommends that we give both of our characters one symbol that we might roll on this playmat. I'm thinking for just the two of us, it might be more fun for us to have multiple symbols because that'll give us more potential scenes for us to roll on as things are happening.
I like it.
Is my thought process. So, which of the 6 symbols? The symbols, for reference, are all of the icons on a VCR. If you are listening to this and you are too young to know what a VCR symbol look like, Google it. It's a play button, a record button, fast forward, rewind, pause, and stop buttons. Which button do you want your characters to be represented by?
All right, so I'm gonna go with it's gonna be the record button.
Okay. And Branson's symbol is going to be the rewind button.
Nice.
Great. And then for Dasha, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to roll. I rolled the play button. What about you?
I rolled the record button again, so I feel like it's fate telling me that they should have the same symbol.
Okay, sure. Got it. Okay. So we've got our characters, and now we're going to start play. The way that play works is beginning with the player who most recently shot a video. Each player takes a turn consisting of rolling dice on the playmat, generating a scene, describing the character's events, resolving that scene, and updating our tracks. I'll describe what all of that means as we work through it. We'll just bounce back and forth until we fill up our character's tracks and know what happened to them. When's the last time you shot a video?
It's probably been over a week. I have a 2-year-old daughter, so I've certainly recorded her, but it probably has been over a week. Have you recorded a video more recently than that?
I'm trying to think if I've recorded a video for work in the last week. Last week was a big podcast production week, so I did a lot of audio recording, but I don't think I recorded any video, so I think No, wait, I was on a charity stream all weekend. What the fuck am I talking about?
You recorded so many videos.
I was on a bunch of videos. I was on a bunch of videos like 2 days ago. What am I talking about?
So I think you're first.
Okay, great. So I am rolling one dark dice. I have here my Insane Clown Posse D6 with the Hatchet Man on the D6. Whoop, whoop. And a bright green Ghostbusters Ectoplasm die for a light die. The dark die is going to represent my recorder. So our Insane Clown Posse dice represents Branson, and our lighter dice represents Professor Miranova. So I am going to roll these 2 dice onto this playmat, which has all 6 symbols represented on it. That is a 5 and a 3. The 3 is the lower result. The die with a lower result determines the scene type and which of the 2 characters the scene is focused on. So I rolled a 3 on review content. So right now my recorder is reviewing content, and my symbols do not match, which means that a thing will happen if that is the case. So now we get to describe the scene in which Branson and Lucas are reviewing footage. The prompt for that scene is: further details are exposed on something we've already seen or heard. What do you find that you once missed while walking down a tread path? Great. So we have an episode in the can. Like, what was the roadside attraction that we just finished filming an episode on?
The first thing that comes to mind for me is a haunted building at a university.
Sure. Love that. When I went to school, I went to Ohio State, and we had a series of service tunnels that were rumored to be haunted, and that feels very nice. I
love that.
A manhole that you can get to that like supposedly connects the entire campus that's supposedly haunted. So it's us like sewer diving underneath a university. Like crawling through tunnels and like poking around, and there is something on that, there is something in that footage that is, we did not notice when we first shot the episode. So like, this is us in the editing bay. We've got our headphones on. I think Branson is a little checked out because I think at this point, the show kind of like produces itself a little bit. So like has a hand on his face, is just kind of watching. And kind of like poking, sitting. When in the episode do you think we notice something is wrong?
I feel like we're, I think Lucas is always locked in when he's watching footage. I don't think that I think that he can be a very hyper-focused person. And I think so when they're watching footage, he knows that Branson kind of lets his mind wander. And the whole reason for their partnership is that Branson he's the person that brings the crowd. And, and Lucas wants to be the person that kind of sparks their interest once they're there. And so I think he's kind of locked in as we're walking through these tunnels. And I think as he's watching, he notices a symbol carved into the side of one of these tunnels. Maybe it's an area where some of the old rock underneath the ground has kind of pushed its way back through from whatever artificial walls have been put up in these tunnels. And I think he kind of like reaches over and pats Branson on the arm. He says, Branson, look, do you see that symbol there? That, they told us that these tunnels were really were built for maintenance purposes. But look, I think that's a symbol of the lore keepers. It's a group that's a secret society that's rumored to have existed at this university for a century.
You're not on camera. Chill. You're fine. You're not. Save it for the audience.
But you have to see that you have to see that it's there. It's right there. You can see it.
And pops it open. Flips to the exact same point on the footage on several other, like the other two camera angles that we got.
Do you think it's there?
It's absolutely only there at a specific on one of the three cameras, despite all three cameras shooting at the exact same time.
Jesus, Branson, what the
did somebody? What the fuck? How
did somebody? Nobody's edited these yet, right? We're the first ones to look at it.
I mean, if somebody did, they're getting fired. I'll tell you that much.
Jesus, how can? I mean, that was
if this was.
We didn't see it when we were walking. You didn't see it when we were walking through, right?
We would have booked an interview had we seen it. Like, this is juice. This is the juice, and it's not.
If could somebody have edited this into this footage rather than taking it out?
That's got to be what it is. I'm gonna gather up the crew. Somebody got into the editing bay before us. Maybe this. You know what? Maybe that's the episode pitch. Maybe this is a whole, like, somebody's trying to create a mystery among us. Like, that's kind of a fun pitch. I'm going to gather the crew. I'm going to see what we can do. It's fine. Okay. Now, I think, like, he, like, bursts out of the room, leaving just that one symbol and the two screens as he, like, goes out to gather the crew to start grilling people. And I think that is the end of our first scene.
I love it. So we have to roll to kind of see how the scene ends, right?
That is correct. So there's a few things that we have to fill out about our characters that we have not filled out yet that I think, like, for this scene, I'm going to count as no, because I want to get, now that I've gotten to know the characters a little bit, we need to know what their fears and what their signature items are. For Branson, I know what the signature item is. I just got to think about the fear.
Yeah, I think Lucas's fear is being alone. And I think it's for the recorder, it's a quirk, I think, and a fear.
Right. Thank you. It is a quirk and a fear, and then an item for the reviewer. Is that right?
Yeah.
Got it. So I'm gonna roll a d6 here because I gotta know my quirk. I think my fear is that there's nothing.
I like it.
I'm just writing down there's nothing. Like, this whole show is built on me challenging the fear that, like, none of this is real and none of this matters.
Yeah.
And my quirk, I'm going to roll a d6 here. Get myself a quirk. Fidgets. Fun.
Houdini-esque. I think my fear is going to be being alone. It's one of the suggestions here. And I think my quirk is going to be talks to self. I think he processes out loud.
I increasingly don't like my original answer, and I'm going to change it to one that is on here, which is large crowds.
Okay.
because that feels like, A, I rolled a random result, and I think that that's, like, more likely to come up in a really satisfying manner, and B, like, there's something really fun about a Hollywood effects guy being somebody that, like, has avoided crowds and premieres and all those things. Like, I work in a quiet room by myself, and even when we shoot this thing, I am talking to 2 other people.
Exactly, and you love being in those, like, hidden away spaces,
Yeah,
because there aren't people, or there's not room for people to be around.
I like being by myself. I like being alone. I love being alone. Which means in this one, I am going to stick with the fact that I didn't really engage with a quirk, and I didn't really engage, with my fear, which means I am rolling 1d6. That's a 1 step closer to expiration. Fuck yes. You struggle to make meaningful progress on your investigation and are faced with a setback. What's the setback that we run into, that Branson runs into, as I mark my first notch on the expiration clock, which is a 3-section track that puts me closer to, well, expiration.
I think maybe one of our videographers was sick or something the day we recorded, and we had to hire a student from the university to hold that third camera, and they were the one that recorded the footage that has the symbol in it, and they're not here anymore. They've gone back to, their dorm or whatever.
That's fantastic. I think that, like, you get a long sequence of, like, from a closed door, Branson just screaming until he's hoarse at, like, a university person who's like, get them on the fucking phone. And we just hear that for a long time. All right, which means it's time for our next scene.
I love it.
It is your turn, so roll me 2d6, 1 dark, 1 light, and tell us which character we are interacting with and what the topic of the scene is.
All right. So I rolled a 5 and a 4. The 4 was on the dark die, so we're also playing my reviewer. And I rolled on check-in, which says...
We can sense impending danger and need to stay strong. How do you band together with other characters to put yourself before the investigation for once?
I'm kind of drawn to picking right back up when Branson leaves the room, because I think now Lucas is in the room by himself.
Yeah.
And he doesn't like being by himself, but he's also really locked in on the freeze frame of this symbol that's on the screen. And he just kind of starts talking to himself and says, the lore keepers, they're known for doing things like this, for inserting their symbolism into places that people don't expect. That could be the tunnel, but it could also be on the video. It could be the lore keepers they're trying to tell us something. They're trying to send us a message through the editing. Is it possible that... And I think he pulls out like an old flip phone, and he starts dialing, and he's actually going to call Dasha. And so we're kind of crossing timelines here, but he's going to call Dasha. And remind me of her last name.
Miranova. And as that happens, we see this from another angle, where we see we see Branson on the phone via security cam footage in the university, and, like, there is a camera in the editing bay that is capturing this phone call, or a video camera, like, planted in the corner that is capturing this phone call as part of filming the, like, behind the scenes documentary.
Yeah, I love it.
About the making of this TV show.
There's cameras everywhere in this thing. I love it.
Yeah.
Sorry, remind me her last name again. I already lost it.
Miranova.
Dr. Miranova, it's Lucas Phillips. Do you have a second?
It's been for one of my favorite students, absolutely. How goes the monster hunting?
I would say it's going well, but I don't know. There's something bothering me. Can I ask you a question? There's something on my mind. It reminds me of a lecture you gave, and I just thought you might be the right person to talk this through with. Do you remember the lore keepers?
Lore keepers, let's see, campus conspiracy. I mean,
right.
whole tradition of students imagining what teachers and fellow peers are up to, Skull and
Exactly.
Bone Society, secret fraternities, all that kind of stuff. Pretty standard stuff.
Yeah. So do you remember what we were doing some work at that university, and I think I might have found one of their symbols. Do you remember why they would mark a place or an item or a location? Why were they doing that? What was the purpose behind it?
From what I remember, it wasn't about marking the place. It was about marking the people who saw the symbol. It was a symbol only exists if someone sees it. A symbol only carries power if it is conveyed, and their marking of symbols was traditionally a way to mark the people that interacted with it, essentially. Do you remember, like, essentially it was a way of indicating, it was the cheapest way to say it is it was a you're next, for lack of a better way to put it.
And I think as you're seeing on the camera, you're hearing Dasha's voice, but you're seeing Lucas kind of start mumbling to himself. And as soon as her voice cuts out, you start to hear what he's mumbling to himself. He's saying, the symbol was for us. The symbol was for us. It wasn't in the tunnels. It was placed in the footage for us to see. Sorry. So you're next with, they did sacrifices, right? They sacrificed people to fuel their supposed power.
I mean, that was the legend. Hey, you're doing okay, right?
Yeah, I'm fine. I just need to make sure that I've got all this down, because I think this is the angle we're going to go for the show. So I just need to make sure I have all this down.
Sure.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, the whole thing was they would mark someone, they would hunt them, they would kill them, they would, usually in a pretty public manner, or at least that's what the story goes. But like, the thing about these stories is you can't really find the person that they killed. Like, it was kind of it's one of those urban legends that's rooted in both, this was a very public murder by this secretive organization, but also there's no real record of the person that it happened to. So it's, if you're going to play up an angle, play up the, oh no, we're very public figures that are the prime targets for this kind of conspiracy. You understand how it is. I mean,
absolutely.
Talk to your boss. I'm sure he can spin that into I know how he does the show. I'm sure he can spin it into whatever.
I've never seen a story that he can't find an angle to make interesting for somebody. I just want to make sure that I'm playing my role. I appreciate the phone call. Is it okay if I reach out again if I need something else?
You know what my office hours are?
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate it. And he hangs up, and I think you see that he's still looking at the symbol when he looks around and he notices that he's alone in the room. And I'm gonna roll now to see how that affects him. So I'm gonna roll my the result of the scene. Well, I rolled 2 die accidentally instead of 1, but they are both 1s. So I think that means that I struggled to make meaningful progress on my investigation.
It does. Bump that expiration up by 1.
That's right. It's a small track for the old recorder in the expiration track. So
I think we see on this footage, we see the symbol behind, like over your shoulder in the room. We see that symbol is also there.
Yeah, and so what do you think the setback that I face in this moment is?
I think the setback you face in this moment is, I like that there is this is very classic horror. Like, we have identified what the monster very clearly is, but all of the evidence points towards it not being real, because
Totally.
It can't be real. Of course it isn't real. So like, the setback here is the holes in the story, right? Like, this is supposed to be a very public murder, right? This is supposed to be something that is very like noticeable, and like all of the stories about the Lorekeeper Society is they did it it was murder as story, right? Like, it was the murder is part of the story, but there's also no murder to point to as part of the story. So the whole thing kind of falls apart really quickly. So there's not really there's not really something real to hold on to, and this whole thing just has this air like it's easily poked holes in the story as it appears at this moment.
And even if it ever existed, it couldn't possibly exist now. And what would even be the odds that the person who recorded this was able to slip this symbol in there? Like it's so astronomical that it doesn't compute to him, and he kind of just like rushes out the door because he doesn't like being alone in here.
And the last thing that we see is there is like an old oil painting, like a real like landscape, and like the shape of some trees in the painting as it is seen on the camera filming the behind the scenes documentary. The trees are shaped in the shape of the lore keeper symbol.
I love it.
All right, it's time for me to roll 2 dice and see what happens. That is a 2 on the dark die and a 5 on the light die, and we are making some new footage here.
Love it.
All right, which means that our reviewer are the people in question. After whatever has happened, we see Dasha reviewing this footage with Mark sometime later. And we are making new footage, which is a new location leader. Evidence is brought to light on tape. How does this new intel change your course of action? Before we get into that, I'm now also going to learn Dasha's item and anchor. And my anchor is mentor. I feel like we're sticking with that. That feels good.
I like it.
And what the item that I have on me, I rolled CD player, and I'm going to push this a notch further. I'm going to write this down here. Dasha, anchor. Let me remind myself of the anchor is what keeps my reviewer going. So I'm not going to, let me roll my D6 and see what I get here. A best friend, which is another member of the faculty, Dr. Jameson Bull. So my anchor, my fellow peer, Dr. Jameson Bull, who is like a biology professor, and so like who is my friend with whom I cannot discuss my work because he doesn't care about anthropology. I don't care about biology. We agree not to talk about work. And my item, I rolled CD player, as this is set sometime nebulously in like the 90s or 2000s. I am pushing this a notch further and saying it is field music recordings.
Okay.
I had anthropology professors who were like music recorders, like folk music recorders, where they would go to events and record people playing music so there would be some kind of record of it. How that impacted me into playing into an art form where I do cultural preservation of role-playing games, who can fucking say? But something about like her having a collection of field music recordings of like various folk music things is very compelling to me. And I think like she has watched that footage again and again and again, and we cut back to her office with a little TV screen and that tape in the VCR. Mark is sitting next to her. We watch that footage again. We've watched it, 8, 9, 10 times. And Dasha stands up. It seemed fine. It seemed like a show. It seemed like the same thing it ever was. And as she like mutters and, kicks the carpet a little bit, muttering, there's nothing there. It's just a phone call. But there's got to be something. There's got to be something in that moment that we're missing. She like casually hits play on her multi-track CD player with these folk music recordings. And there's just this moment of quiet when there is a noise that she hears on the recording.
And I think you see Mark sitting across the desk not even really looking at the footage, just kind of looking down, and he's holding a chef's knife in a knife case, and he's just kind of like taking it in and out, kind of fiddling with it. But he hears the noise, and he looks up and says, "Jesus, Doc, what was that?"
It's like a scratchy, distorted noise, and she goes, "What that was not there when I recorded this." And she rewinds it and plays it back, and there's still that weird, like, momentary scratching noise, and she plays it again. Yeah, that wasn't there the last time I played this CD.
Doc, play it one more time for me.
And she plays it one more time, and it's distinct, and it's warbled, and she's like, there's something... Hold on, I can... And Dasha is... unleashing Jeff's secret weapon. She pops the CD into her computer, boots up an audio analyzer and looks at the spectrogram. Would you like to guess what we see on that audio spectrogram?
I'm guessing this. I'm guessing it's the symbol.
It is straight up just the symbol has embedded itself on the actual CD, like CD recording, and she like jumps back, like falls back in her chair. What the fuck? What the fuck?
Doc, and I think Mark still.
Did you do this?
Did I do what? Just hold on one second. Listen to me. I don't know a lot of shit, but
did he put you up to this? Is this a whole thing where you?
What the fuck are you talking about?
Is this a show thing? I'm saying somebody made a copy of my CD, put this little thing on it to fuck with me. You show up in my office telling me that we have to watch videos of your kid who just called me to talk about the show that he's producing. This all feels a little candid camera. That's all I'm saying.
You're saying that symbol is the symbol that he saw on the footage?
And she like grabs a book, flips to a page, points at the exact same symbol. It's a perfect match. It's the symbol.
I mean, that's got to be some kind of coincidence. But listen to me for 1 second, just 1 second. I don't know a lot of shit, but what I do know is the sound of a blade hitting something. That's a knife. That is the sound of a knife running across metal or rock or something like that.
Then how did it... Somebody ran a knife across a rock. It turned into this symbol on the recording. They put the recording on the CD in my CD player. What the fuck is happening here? I think that we need to meet up again tomorrow. I think you need to go back to your hotel room.
Okay, fine.
Expense it to the university. We'll meet up again tomorrow, bright and early. It's fine.
You're not just writing me off, right? Like you're actually going to meet with me tomorrow. I need help on this.
I need time to cool off and stop accusing you of things, and that's not going to happen today, so you need to go back to your hotel room, get receipts for your hotel and dinner tonight. It's the perks of having tenure, and come back tomorrow morning.
Fuck. Fine. Okay, fine. I'll see you in the morning.
Okay. All right, so now I am going to roll my dice. I'm rolling 2d6 here because I used my signature item. That is a 1 and a 3. It's going bad is what's happening here. What's the setback? What's the setback that we discover as we investigate this footage?
I think Dasha, as Mark leaves, I think Dasha is frustrated and throws the CD across the room, and I think it cracks.
Love that very much, and of course, in the crack is the symbol.
Whether or not she sees it, it's definitely there.
Yeah. All right, roll me some dice. Who's you up a scene?
All right. Dark is low again, and it's another check-in. I think. Did I have that one already? I did, right?
Yes. That's a pause symbol.
Yeah. So that is. Sense impending danger, need to stay strong again. So it's back to Lucas again here.
Yeah.
And I think Lucas is walking through that section of tunnel again with the videographer from the university that they had hired. They somehow They found him, and he's leading them back to this spot.
So and we are seeing this through the footage that the videographer is capturing.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So you're just seeing Lucas in the shot. And he stops and looks around at the walls. He finds the place where the rock has come through, and he turns to the videographer and says, "This is where it was on the footage, right? This is where it was. You can see that it's not here."
I see rock.
Right, and you saw on the footage that I showed you that there was a symbol carved into this rock.
I am I mean, I'm seeing rock. I don't really know what else you want me to say.
Listen, have you students probably talk about this, right? Have you heard of the lore keepers?
I mean, yeah, occasionally, but like not really. Like I've heard in, spooky story class, I've heard some, but like not really.
So nobody talks about it existing, right? It was, even if it existed, it's not still around now, right? I know I'm talking crazy.
A little bit. I'm not gonna lie to you. Is this hourly?
Yeah, you'll be compensated. And I think Lucas, whether it's real or not, I think he sees the videographer kind of like reach toward his chest, like he's like, I don't know, like adjusting a necklace or something, and he like moves up to him and says, "What was that? What are you touching?"
My necklace?
Let me see. And he reaches and like grabs for his t-shirt to like kind of pull it down. And I think maybe I want to roll here to see if I'm successful or not.
That feels great.
I don't think that I used any of my things, so I rolled another one.
I'd give you your fear of being alone, even if you're with one other person.
Like, okay.
You're in this space, and I think you're like facing that fear.
All right, I'll take it. So, all right, I got a 4 on the other dice, so we have some chance of being successful here.
All right, which means that you mark your second spot of exploration and your first spot of understanding.
So your character learns valuable information, but a glitch occurs. Describe what intel you gain and ask another player to describe how the glitch manifests and causes duress. So I think the valuable information that I gain is that I reach and pull his and like almost tear his t-shirt, but he's wearing a necklace, like a chain with a pendant that has the symbol on it.
And the glitch that I rolled a 2d6 table, and the glitch that I rolled was a 9 for rewind and occurred repeats. I think I know what it is. I know exactly what it is. You hear footsteps, like you're about to have the big confrontation, and you hear footsteps coming down. It's unclear if they are friendly. It's unclear if they are not, but another film crew has just turned the corner. And I think like this person, the videographer, like falls backwards, kind of starts to run backwards behind them as they are also filming the same rock walls.
I love it. And then I think we just see the camera drop as the videographer drops the camera and it kind of like cracks. Mm-hmm.
And suddenly you are surrounded, like we see a brief moment of Lucas absolutely surrounded by people with cameras filming. Like they are swarmed by people, and then the video feed cuts out.
Amazing.
All right, and now we also have to answer another question. Where's my track for exploration? When we reach the X, your safety is waning and you can feel it. Perform a scene where your character is overwhelmed by fear. This may take place outside of your search for your target or involve confrontation. Each player may describe aspects of this fear, replying to each with how your character responds. After each character has elevated the fear, describe how they manage to forge ahead. Okay, so you are in danger. There is absolutely somebody wearing this symbol that like just walked you into this tunnel, and then suddenly there's a bunch of people also kind of surrounding you filming things. What are you doing?
Yeah, so I think he's surrounded by all of these people with cameras, and he just turns and takes off running. And very quickly finds himself in the tunnels alone. He's been able to lose the cameras, but now he's kind of trapped and lost in these tunnels. And you see him kind of talking to himself. I think they're still around. I think they're here. I think they're operating, and I'm afraid they've marked me. And you realize now that he has pulled out another camera of his own. Maybe it's like a video camera on his small digital camera or something like that, and he's filming himself as he's walking.
And I'm gonna heighten this fear here. And like, you are lost in these tunnels, and we watch you take a series of turns, and we see it both from your handheld camera and like a series of strategically placed security cameras. So filming you from above, filming you with the handheld, filming you from above, filming you with the handheld. And we cut back to Dasha's office briefly. And like, all of this footage is playing on different windows, different little screens. And we see a sketch pad of like your path through the tunnels, and it also forms the symbol.
Oh my God. And I think we cut back to him, and he's recording himself, and all of a sudden he stops. Like, he almost stops mid-sentence. And you can see that he's kind of looking up, and he just turns the camera to show what he's seeing. And it's this kind of ceremonial room with a stone altar in the middle of it, and the symbol is carved all over the walls.
Great.
Love it. I think that's where that scene ends.
Love it. All right, I'm going to roll my dice here. 1 second. All right, I'm going to roll my dice here. That is one on the we got a scene with Branson, who is, I believe, reviewing some more content. Let me just confirm that. Yeah, we've got Branson is reviewing more content. Great. Branson is watching. I said earlier it was Dasha that had done that. I think this feels really good for that to be Branson, because that gives us access to like the editing bay and having all of that footage all gathered together.
Yeah.
And this is being shot from a small camcorder on Branson's desk. We see the sketch pad, we see the map, we see all of these things. And Branson is like fidgeting in his chair, jumping between different screens, muttering to himself. Okay, room, tunnels. How did they gimmick this? Why wasn't that there? And Branson pops back up the original 3 angles, and he realizes the thing that he's spotted very specifically. The one screen that had the symbol on the wall was the one camera that was capturing the tunnel and the wall in like from an angle where he wasn't seen for B-roll purposes. So, like, it's the one where he's not directly on the screen and Lucas is, and so, like, the symbol is there when Lucas is on screen and not both of them are not just Branson, heightening that sense of, oh God. Like, and he sees that and he starts, like, looking around the office, and, like, there's just this overwhelming sense of, like, the symbol was there when Lucas was on screen very specifically.
And I think he hears a knock at the door, and it's his or their kind of marketing person, maybe their publicist, and she says, "Branson, I need a pitch. We need to be able to tell people what this next episode is going to be about. Do you know the angle yet?"
I will get you the angle. I have to talk to Lucas before I can get you the angle, and Lucas has been AWOL, candidly. You know how Lucas gets, but we're going to meet, we're going to talk, it's going to be great. It's going to be good, it's going to be great.
Where is he? What do you mean I know how he is? I mean, where is he? He doesn't just run off in the middle of shoots.
Well, that seems to be exactly what the fuck happened, so I will get you that information when I get you that information. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have some work to do.
What are you going to do if he doesn't show up? What are you going to do if he doesn't show up? We need an episode.
Then we'll grab another intern and slot somebody else into the sidekick slot. It's not that big a deal. Let me make a show, and I'll give you a show and not just a half-baked pitch. And also, ideally, I'll have my guy back.
Yeah, I hope so. And she closes the door.
Crack collapses hard into a chair, like going, "Oh my god, please don't. Please actually just be fucking with me right now. I am going to kill you as long as you haven't already been killed." And I'm going to roll 1d6 because I did not confront, and that was not my go-to symbol. Oh, that's also a 1.
Oh, no.
Which also puts me to my X.
And what's your fear again? Large groups?
Large crowds is my fear.
All right, so I think to set you in this fear, it seems like it's another day. Maybe it's the next day. Maybe it's a couple days later. But Branson is outside.
I think Branson is like on campus, like looking for Lucas.
I love it. And then all of a sudden, that same gaggle of cameras that kind of confronted Lucas down in the tunnels, all of a sudden kind of comes from all sides around Branson. And you see now that it's news crews they're starting to fire questions at Branson about, there are reports that your partner has been missing for at least 24 hours. Can you give us any comment on that? Were you down in the tunnels?
Branson is a mess. Like the second, like we see a lot of this on like interview footage from the local news, and Branson is like visibly a mess. He is flop sweating. He is stammering. He's got bags under his eyes. He does not look like the host of a TV show, and he is just getting increasingly crowded. And I rolled a glitch. And the way that the footage has fucked up in this moment is that there is like a large office window behind him. And for a moment, we see Lucas walking through the cave tunnels in the mirror, like in the glass of that screen. And then we see that screen crack, or we see the window crack in the background into the symbol.
Amazing. And we zoom back in on Branson, and there are microphones that are getting stuck closer and closer to his face, and it really, like, it almost feels like this group of reporters is closing in, and he's just going to get sucked down into this group.
Yep. Fantastic. All right, give me a scene.
All right. I'm going to try to roll these in a different direction so that... all right, so I got the lower one this time is the light die, so this is the reviewer. And It is also new footage.
Okay.
Let's
All right.
see.
What are we... Remind me again what your character symbol is.
Actually, I rolled on my character symbol. Thank you for reminding me. It was the record. So I get...
Fantastic.
A +1 when I roll for the result. And what's the other thing I get?
I believe it's a glitch.
Oh, perfect.
All right. I know what the glitch is. I've rolled 2d6, so talk to me about what the scene is.
All right. Let me just verify again what the new footage
a new location, lead, or evidence is brought to light, and how this intel changes your course of action.
Awesome. So I think we see him back in his hotel room. I think we see Mark back in the hotel room. And he's sitting on the couch, just kind of flipping through the channels absent-mindedly. You can see that he's got a beer in his hand, and there's another, like, 4 cans of beer that are empty that are sitting on the side table. And he's just, like, slumped over. You can see that his eyes are kind of drooping. But then every once in a while, he like startles back awake. Like he can't either bring himself to fall asleep, or something's keeping him awake, and he flips more through the channels.
And the thing that you stumble upon is one channel that doesn't work. It is Scramble Vision, and in the TV static, you see the light flickering of the TV static. You see, or Mark sees in rapid succession the symbol, Lucas, like a brief cable TV scramble vision image of like what is clearly Lucas wandering tunnels and coming into that room, and it is scrambled and distorted. And then also like another second shot of Branson wandering the exact same tunnels and opening the exact same door.
Awesome. I'm going to roll now to see how he reacts. All right, so I rolled a 4. So a +1 expiration and understanding for my reviewer. And we're gonna get another glitch in here. But I think he like kind of squints at the screen, and as soon as he sees Lucas starting to walk into that room, and as soon as he sees that footage, he picks up another full beer that's sitting next to him, and he throws it at the screen, and it cracks into the symbol.
And some beer like runs through the cracks on the TV, like droplets of water runs through the cracks on TV, and it starts to take on like the distinct color and texture of blood. Like it is unmistakable. I rolled the glitch water, which is drifted, soaked, or drowned, and you adding liquid means that liquid's turning into blood, guaranteed.
I love it, and I think the scene ends just kind of zooming in on his face. You know, maybe it's I guess you would think that there wouldn't be a camera into a hotel room, but it's kind of zooming in on his face, and you see that he just has this look of both fear and helplessness as a single tear kind of drips down his cheek, and it just zooms in more and more until it blacks out.
Love it. Fantastic. I have rolled my dice. This is a scene with Branson, and this is Branson's specialty scene of consulting an expert. Consulting an expert represents, where is the phrasing here? You've heard of someone who might be able to offer insight into your research. Track them down. How can they help? Branson has found the videographer that ran off previously. I think that there is, it is, Blair Witch style confessional talk, holding the camera. Branson is like pointing it at himself, pointing it at the ground, muttering. This is where it all started. This is where it's all gonna fucking end. This is where it ends. This is where it ends. I know. And like is muttering like, I know you did this. I know whatever you did this. You're gonna tell me. And like is pounding on the door. We're seeing, first person footage of just him pounding on the door. The videographer enters. I'm gonna roll the dice to see what happens here.
I love it.
This is going to be 2d6 because I have not engaged my fear, but my symbol did match. That is a 5 and a 2, which is 1 expiration. Oh boy. All right. 1 expiration and 1 understanding.
All right, I'll roll your glitch for you.
Roll me that glitch. I think opens the door. Oh, this is the moment we see Branson open the door and discover the exact same room with the altar and the symbols all over it that is supposedly underground. Like, Branson has walked through the hallways of this dormitory, slammed on a dorm room door, opened it. Underground room, exact same last place we saw Lucas. Drops the camera. How does the camera get fucky?
And as soon as he walks into that room, you think it's going to look exactly the same because the shot of him opening the door is the same. But as he looks into the room, Lucas is tied to the stone block, and a group of figures, all wearing dark robes and hoods, are holding torches. And you then see that Lucas has wood piled up around him, and they're just all kind of walking in a circle holding these torches.
Love it.
The glitch that I rolled was fire.
So then what I want to add to that is we see the torches, and then the actual recorded footage of this, like from the camcorder that Branson dropped, burns away like it's a film reel that has a cigar burn on it. Like,
yes,
it burns at the edge, like the camera itself burns up.
Amazing.
And what happens when I die? I think I just die.
I think there's something that happens.
They disappear or die depending on the story. Choose an area to brief. I don't need to narrate it. I think we already saw that expiration, so go ahead and roll the next scene.
Awesome. All right, so this is reviewer again, and I rolled encounter danger.
That feels pretty good. That feels pretty good. I don't feel like we need to add anything to this scene that hasn't already been established. If you just want to roll some dice and see how things shake out.
Well, so it's for the reviewer, so it's for Mark, not Lucas.
Oh, it's for Mark.
It's for
right.
Mark.
Mark has just seen this this gives us an opportunity to like flashback. Mark has seen that footage in the scramble vision on the hotel. Suddenly crystal clear, that footage has just played. What is Mark doing?
So I think this tear has run down his cheek, and then all of a sudden he like wipes it away, and you see him stand up, and he like starts patting his pockets like he's looking for something, and he turns, and you see on maybe sitting on the bed, he turns and you see his empty knife cover. And then he turns a little more, and standing in the doorway of the hotel room is someone holding his knife. Who do you think it is?
Who do I think? It's got to be the original videographer, right?
It's got to be. It's got to be
the original videographer. It's got to be that it's the exact person that started all of this is holding the knife. Roll me some dice and let me see how it shakes out.
Let's see. All right. So I did include the knife, so I get 2 dice here. And I rolled a 1 and a 3.
Perfect. Here's the thing. We're theoretically supposed to play until we fill up another round of tracks for both Dasha and Mark.
Right, but I think this might be the ending.
I think that's game over. Like I think it's you see the knife, camera, like hotel security cam footage shuts off, and that's game.
Absolutely.
Fuck, that ripped.
I loved it.
Oh, this ruled. Thank you so much for playing this with me.
Absolutely. This was a really fun experience. Super fun game. I love games where you're able to kind of mess with the chronology and just kind of bring scenes up. I feel like it tells a really compelling story. So I love this. This was so awesome.
What was your favorite moment from play?
I think my favorite moment was the addition of the symbol in the CD that Dasha started playing. I think it really kind of brought the what was going on with the lore keepers. It brought it into the reality of both sets of characters, which that was a turning point for me, I think.
Love that. Love that. I really loved, there was like I think it's the same thing, but like the symbol showing up everywhere, like that through line of the entire thing was just the most satisfying piece of like just seeing that it continue to escalate further and further. Delightful.
Yep, absolutely.
This rip. Thank you so much for playing this with me.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
So real quick before we wrap up, where can people find you and your work online?
Yeah, so we are Nature of My Game Podcast. You can find us anywhere you listen to podcasts or social media at NOMG Podcast on Instagram, Twitter, Blue Sky, Threads, or at our website, www.nomgpodcast.com.
Fantastic. Well, thank you again. This was a wonderful, wonderful game. I'm absolutely stoked with how this shook out. And for now, I'm going to throw it over to me in the future so that he can wrap up with the show. Take it, future me. Thanks, past me. And thanks again to Eric for coming on the show. That game was... God, I love a good found footage horror story. That was so my jam. I was so thrilled. I really love it. That game really hit all the notes that I wanted it to hit. Be sure to head to worldchamp.io to pick up your own copy of Press Play. Be sure to head to nomgpodcast.com to check out the Nature of Game podcast. And be sure to follow Nature of My Game wherever you are on social media at NOMG Podcast.
You can also find us on pretty much whichever social media you prefer at Party of One Pod or Jeff Stormer, depending.
And if you enjoy the show and you want to support it, there's a lot of different ways you can do that. Subscribe to our newsletter at buttondown.email/partyofonepodcast. And join our Discord community at bit.ly/partyofonediscord. You can support us financially at patreon.com/JeffStormer or ko-fi.com/JeffStormer. You can give us a nice iTunes review, shout us out to a friend, give us some love on social media. You can buy some Party of One merch at bit.ly/partyofonemerch. Or if you're looking for more great podcast content, you can check out All My Fantasy Children, which is a character creation, storytelling, and world-building podcast that I make with my best friend in the world, Aaron Catano Saez. We take a listener-submitted prompt and spin it into an original fantasy character, populating a shared universe one story at a time. You can also check out Yazeba's Bed and Breakfast, which is an actual play about a heartless witch, a cozy house, and the many people making their homes inside. Both of those you can find wherever you get your podcasts. Party of One is, as always, produced and edited by Jeff Stormer and Jen Frank. Music for the show comes from the song Infinite Lives by Mega Ran featuring the D&D Sluggers, and the Party of One logos by Evan Rowland. If you'd like to inquire about advertising rates, coming on the show as a guest, or about press coverage of the show, you can email me at partyofonepodcast@gmail.com. And unless I am mistaken, that is all we do here. So until next time, thank you so much for listening. Remember to fight the forces of fascism every single day. Remember that self-love and self-care are radical and defiant acts of resistance. And as always, party on, everybody. If you dare.